Welcome back to our channel, dear friends. Today is a beautiful, sunny day to gather around and dive into the latest happenings in Port Charles. We always love sharing these moments with you, so grab your favorite cup of tea, settle into a comfortable chair, and let us explore the dramatic twists and turns that are keeping us all on the edge of our seats. I have to tell you, my friends, I have been watching the situation between Drew Kane and Willow Kane unfold, and it has absolutely tied my stomach in knots. If you have been following along with me, you know just how intense things have gotten recently. It feels like we are watching a pot of water left on a hot stove, just waiting for it to boil over and make a terrible mess. Drew is not just going to stand by and accept this supposed victory that Willow thinks she has secured. Oh no, that is simply not in his nature, and after everything he has endured, who could possibly blame him? I look at Drew and I see a man who has been pushed far past the limits of what any normal human being should ever have to bear. Let us take a slow walk down memory lane for a moment and really think about the pure agony Drew was subjected to. For months on end, that poor man was completely trapped inside his own body. Can you even begin to imagine the sheer terror of that? Lord have mercy, it sends cold shivers right down my spine just thinking about it. He was a prisoner in his own flesh and bone, unable to move a single muscle, unable to speak a word of comfort to his loved ones, only able to communicate by blinking his eyes. Every time I think about him lying in that hospital bed, completely helpless, while the world moved on around him, my heart just aches. And to know that Willow was the one responsible for putting him in that horrific state, it makes my blood boil. It truly does. Now, Willow seems to think she has gotten away tangent-free, and I just cannot wrap my head around the audacity of it all. Bless her heart. But she is parading around Port Charles, acting as if she did not commit a heinous, life-altering crime. She is still holding on to her powerful position as a congresswoman, making decisions for the community, smiling for the cameras, and pretending to be a pillar of absolute morality. It is enough to make you want to throw your shoe at the television screen. I sit in my living room and I watch her acting so high and mighty, and I just think about how deeply unfair life can be sometimes. Drew is carrying the heavy, dark weight of what she did to him while she is out there living her life without a single care in the world. We all saw that incredibly tense moment on the 28th of July, and I will admit I was holding my breath the entire time. Willow actually had the nerve to look Drew right in the eye and warn him that if he tried to kill her, he would only be ruining his own life. The absolute gall of that woman. She stood there, playing the innocent victim, trying to manipulate the situation to make it seem like Drew would be the monster if he dared to retaliate. I could see the storm brewing in Drew's eyes. You could just tell that in his mind, he was imagining reaching out, grabbing her by the throat, and squeezing the life right out of her. And honestly, after she shot him and left him paralyzed, could you really blame him for having those dark, vengeful thoughts? But Drew, being the rational man that he usually is, admitted that he would not go down that violent path, at least not in that exact moment. He originally had a much more civilized plan, and I was fully supporting him on it. He wanted to expose Willow for the absolute fraud that she is. He wanted to drag her terrible actions into the broad daylight, let the whole town see the monster hiding behind that sweet political smile, and watch her entire life crumble to the ground. That would have been the perfect poetic justice. Do you not agree? Just stripping away everything she holds dear and letting her face the public shame she so richly deserves. But of course, in true soap opera fashion, things are never that simple or straightforward. Just when it looked like Drew was going to get his rightful vengeance, Jack Brennan had to stick his nose where it did not belong. That Jack Brennan is a snake in the grass if I ever saw one. He swooped in and blackmailed Drew, forcing our poor Drew to accept Willow's terms. I was so mad I could hardly see straight. Brennan used his wicked leverage to back Drew into a tight corner, completely tying his hands and preventing him from blowing the whistle on Willow's crimes. It is just so incredibly frustrating to see a good man thwarted by backroom deals and dirty blackmail. Drew had to stand there and swallow his pride, agreeing to let Willow walk away seemingly victorious. However, if you look closely, if you really pay attention to the way Drew carries himself, you know deep down this is far from over. There was a specific moment that really caught my attention and made me realize that Drew is playing a very long, dangerous game here. He dropped a very subtle, very chilling hint to Willow, telling her that she should enjoy her freedom while it lasts. Oh, that gave me goosebumps all over my arms. That was not just a passing, angry comment. That was a solemn promise. Drew might have been forced to back down publicly, but behind those handsome eyes, the wheels are turning at top speed. He is plotting something, and I have a strong feeling it is going to be something completely unexpected. He knows he cannot just walk up and shoot her the way she shot him, because he refuses to spend the rest of his life rotting away in a cold prison cell. He is much too smart for that, and he has a family to think about. So, what is a man to do when he has been pushed to the absolute brink, denied his legal justice, and forced to smile at his abuser? I have been pondering this all week, discussing it with my neighbors over the garden fence, and I truly believe Drew is going to return to his original, darker impulses. But this time he is going to do it in a much more sneaky, underhanded, and undetectable way. If he cannot expose her to the authorities, he might just decide to eliminate her altogether. I am talking about a staged accident, something that looks completely natural but is actually a deadly trap designed specifically for Willow. It is a terrifying thought, but when a man is carrying that much anger and deep-seated resentment, it can twist his soul in ways we cannot comprehend. Just imagine the scenarios that must be running through his head right now. I could easily see Drew creeping out in the dead of night, dressed in dark clothes, making his way to Willow's car. He knows his way around mechanics, and it would not take much for him to tamper with her brakes or mess with the steering column. He could set it up so perfectly that when she is driving down those winding, dangerous roads outside of town, her car just suddenly gives out. A tragic accident, the local police would say, a terrible, heartbreaking loss for the community, the newspapers would read. And all the while, Drew would be standing at her funeral, wearing a dark suit, keeping his hands perfectly clean, while knowing in his heart he finally got his revenge. The more I think about it, the more I realize that every single day, Willow goes unpunished, the deeper Drew's rage grows. It is like a toxic poison seeping into his veins. He sees her on the television holding press conferences, acting like a champion for the regular people, and it just eats away at his very core. How can she be a respected congresswoman when she is a cold-blooded attempted murderer? It is the ultimate hypocrisy. Drew is the only one who truly knows the dark depths of her deception, and he is not going to find any peace, any restful sleep until she pays a heavy, heavy price. And since the law cannot touch her because of Brennan's interference, Drew is going to have to become the judge, jury, and perhaps even the executioner. Of course, orchestrating a perfect crime is never as easy as it sounds, especially in a town where secrets have a way of floating to the surface like driftwood on the lake. If Drew does decide to set a deadly trap, he is going to have to be incredibly careful. He cannot leave a single fingerprint, a single trace of evidence, or his own life will be completely over. The temptation has to be absolutely overwhelming. When you have been locked in your own body, staring blankly at the ceiling, wondering if you will ever take another unassisted breath, forgiveness is just a silly fairy tale. You want blood. And I think Drew is slowly realizing that he is willing to spill it. This entire situation has me so incredibly anxious for the coming weeks. I find myself rushing through my morning chores just so I can sit down and see what happens next. Will Drew actually go through with it? Will he find a way to set a trap so cunning, so perfectly disguised, that Willow walks right into it without ever realizing she is stepping into her own grave? Or will his conscience get the better of him at the very last second? I honestly do not know, and that is exactly what makes this story so wonderfully captivating. We are watching a good man wrestle with the darkest parts of human nature, and the stakes could not possibly be any higher. Willow is walking on borrowed time, whether she realizes it or not. She is so confident in her little political bubble, so sure that Brennan's blackmail has permanently neutralized Drew. But pride always comes before the fall, my friends. I have seen it time and time again. She is underestimating the sheer willpower of a man who fought his way back from being a prisoner in his own paralyzed body. I will be sitting right here watching every single detail unfold, and I just know you will be too. Until next time, keep your loved ones close and stay safe.